Hi, good evening. My name is Daniel Lopez. I am a student of data visualization here at the University of Business Analytics, and today I'm going to be delving in with you regarding the importance of how overlooked public health issue regarding foodborne illnesses and their connection to what we eat. Something that I do want to bring your focus and attention to is going to be dairy regarding a rising popularity of something called a raw milk consumption movement. Each year, foodborne illnesses affect approximately 48 million people in the United States, leading to 128,000 hospitalizations and 3,000 deaths. This does highlight the severe need for a data-driven approach to visualize it, and in this presentation, we will explore data collected on foodborne illnesses, hospitalization, and deaths by food commodities, with a special focus on dairy products. We'll take a closer look at how these risks correlate to the raw milk movement, a growing trend that possesses significant health concerns despite advancements in food safety measures. Now, with that being said, I do want to go over some of the stuff that we are going to be covering today. I did get my sources that I am using for today's graphs directly from the CDC in their figures, tables, and appendixes. And we are going to analyze the impact of foodborne illnesses, hospitalizations, and death of food commodities based on outbreak data from 1998 to 2008. We will see commodities like dairy, leafy greens contribute the most in these public health risks, and I will show you in that data. And these is a sample of the tables that I will be using. This is an outbreak illness of deaths regarding the commodities I will be looking. Same table, although this is regarding hospitalizations. Same table regarding just illnesses. And we're going to be fact checking that together. Alright, so let me move on to my actual visualization. So here I have a couple of charts, and I do want to focus on food commodities and outbreak data. What we are doing here is we're measuring the health impact metrics regarding the death, hospitalization, and illness charts that I mentioned earlier. If you do want to focus particularly on any one of these, I do have them color-coded for you. Or if you also wanted to combine them together to get a overall view of how every one of them stack up against each other just as a whole, I also have this available for here. You can see a huge disparity on this one called undetermined, whatever that may be, but we also have some recognizable ones like fruits, nuts, poultry, vine, beef, eggs, and the one that I want to focus on, which is the one that has the most significance and the one that I actually want to focus your attention to, is dairy and leafy. So there is a huge impact regarding how you can actually face a foodborne illness regarding leafy greens and dairy, so that is something that you should be concerned about. Now, I am focusing my project on raw milk, and why am I doing that when leafy greens is one of the most impactful things that are happening right now? Well, many of these products are regulated by the FDA, and I do have an article on that. But the thing is that there is now a new movement that has been rising in popularity called the raw milk movement. A lot of people, instead of pasteurizing their milk, have been drinking raw milk and believing that it has beneficial enzymes and health benefits that pasteurization kind of kills off, and there is no more benefit to that. That is not true, and a lot of health data experts disagree with them, and they try to acknowledge them and try to help people who are spreading this disinformation or misinformation. With that being said, I'm not going to be moving on to some of these consequences. Because of these consequences, I have a little chart here having skulls and little band-aids regarding the effects that these foodborne illnesses may have on you. Illnesses versus death percentages by commodity. It's the same commodities that I mentioned before, but if we want to highlight the death percentages, clicking on here, we'll interact with the entire board. Here we have a death percentage, and we'll highlight this here. But what we want to focus on are all these little skulls. The skulls represent death. And you can see here the percentage of death that you will be facing if you eat a leafy green. Though you may not be facing a high mortality rate whenever you are eating foodborne illnesses from leafy greens, you will face a high consequence of sickness, which may be a valuable trade-off. But if you see something like Undetermined, which has a very low band-aid rate, but a very, very high mortality rate, that is something that you want to concern yourself with. Dairy, on the other hand, it's pretty like round out in the middle. It is pretty significant. But if you wanted to take a look at the other ones, well, you could also do that yourself as well. Okay. And with that being said, we want to see some of the comparative risks regarding all our commodities together. So to make sure that you guys are able to draw your attention directly to the ones that are the most significant, well, I want to ask you a couple of questions. If I had to ask you which one of these commodities is going to give you as a higher percentage of giving you an illness, well, you would look at this big red graph. The big red graph here leads back to leafy. Okay, so we can statistically answer that the higher illness that you are going to be getting is going to be from leafy. The highest, and this is the notable one, the highest hospitalization rate you'll actually be getting from dairy. And the highest death, as I already mentioned here before on the death chart, you're going to be getting from undetermined. Okay, so this is still pretty notable for dairy, and I already mentioned leafy is pretty noticeable too, and undetermined, whatever that may be, is also something of significance regarding death. We are focusing on dairy, so we're just going to be moving on from that right now. And to focus even more on dairy, I made the exact same chart, but with more focus right here, so that we can only focus on dairy. Now, as I already mentioned before, there is a big movement in the promotion of raw milk, and dairy can account for a significant percentage in the illness, hospitalization, and deaths, and the recent raw milk movement increases this risk. Everything that I've mentioned up to this point is in support of that or supportive of that. And if you wanted to maybe compare maybe something like dairy and eggs, or maybe something like dairy, eggs, and where was it? Leafy. Yeah, there it is. Leafy, considering that it was the most impactful one. Or maybe you wanted to include all of them, but you're like, you know what? Maybe like I don't eat a lot of fungi. I don't eat a lot of game. I'm someone who basically does most of my shopping at the regular stores. You can kind of adjust your chart to that so you can make it a lot more personalized. Whatever undetermined or vine is, maybe we can just ignore that. And then our charts do adjust to that. Now poultry, whenever we get rid of these right here, now poultry is going to be the highest death percentage. But with that being said, you can personalize it however you need to here. If you want to focus on just dairy, you can also do that here. Here's a little chart for comparative risk values. And say you wanted to focus on just the death chart, so you wanted to highlight them, you can click on this. Hospitalization, click on that. And illness, you can click on that. Regarding the related articles, I also had support from the FDA regarding food safety, raw milk. This is also another FDA article, what you need to know about foodborne illnesses, a recent scare that happened in California regarding acts to public health, and a recall of a raw milk vendor regarding a bird flu spread. And it also mentions this here. Despite the spread of bird flu, there are a lot of people who are either disinforming or misinforming each other and are pushing the legalization of raw milk into states that it was not previously legal. I'm not against free speech. I'm not against wanting to push new things that are revolutionary and helpful to the public. But putting your health at risk is not something that I think is beneficial to the public, and something that should be concerned, and something that we as the public should be concerned about and have our government advocate to protect our own citizens, and understanding that they are still going to go out of their way to try to get these products because of what they believe to be true, better education, and putting a stop to these people who are spreading this misinformation. I hope this has been very informative visualization that I was able to provide for you. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful rest of your evening.